all the games I used to play in my younger, wilder days. The game of clubs and tees had never crossed my mind.
Welcome into the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. As always, I'm Andrew Petters. My friend Joe Nicely, lead golf editor at Rotoballer.com. 2022 is upon us. Happy to kick off the new season with my buddy here, Joe Nicely, lead golf editor at Rotoballer.com. Joe, man, it's been about five. We've had about 5 weeks off. We went through the Type A flu at the poorhouse. We had 17 Christmases, one still to go in the January months of January here, but that's not going to stop us from putting out content. Sentry Tournament of Champions is upon us. Joe Nicely, just go right off the bat. First thoughts on the first tournament of the season.
It's good to be back, man. That's my first thoughts. It feels weird to be saying 2022. I think we were kind of both out of gas at the end of last year, AP. It was a really long season, that super season, man. Stretched out, I think, about 18 months or something. So we were both kind of out of gas, I think, but rested, recharged. I hadn't had as many Christmases as you, but had a nice one here with the family, and hope you guys did as well. Hate to hear about the flu thing, man. That's really tough when the kids are sick, but pumped for golf. Really ready to go. Looking forward to a big year. There's some new things we're going to be doing this year for you guys. We hope you'll stick with us. We talked about doing some changes, but in the end, we decided to kind of keep the form going. We had a chance to do a couple different things with a couple different people, but they wanted us to kind of shorten things up, kind of give you bite-sized little things, and we just like talking golf. And I think really a lot of the best things that we talk about, some of the most helpful things that we talk about, come out in kind of lengthy discussions talking about these guys. So we're looking forward to a big year. Hope you guys will subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the Twitter page, do all that, spread the word about the Turn Fantasy Golf Pod all you can. We really appreciate it. We're here to help you win some money this year. So let's get going, Andrew.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like Joe said, what this show is really all about is just me and Joe getting together every week, talking a little bit about golf, maybe bringing in a friend from time to time. Just talking about what happened last week, what's going to happen this week, and just our first thoughts. Cause really the price tag on Draftkings and FanDuel had only been out a few hours every time we produce an episode. So like you said, Joe, we decided to keep the format the way it is. That's what we want to do, pushing forward. And 2022, here we go. Sentry Tournament of Champions, Joe. 39 players in the field. This tournament is held at Kapalua Resort Plantation Course. It's about 7,600 yards long. I think it's the only par 73 I know it's the only par 73 the tour plays on a regular basis. It might from time to time jump out somewhere else, but let's be honest, that just is not something that happens normally. This term has been played here since 1999, Joe. At this golf course. Since that time period, what we can say about it is, for the most part, long hitters have had a lot of success. I don't necessarily think it's just because of the length of the golf course, because there has been a series of you went through rattle off a 6-year period where 4 or 5 out of the, from 11 to 16, Jonathan Bird, Steve Stricker, Zach Johnson, Patrick Reed, Jordan Spieth, they're not long hitters by any stretch of the means. So other types of players can play well here. However, let's be honest, guys that bomb it seem to have somewhat of a leg up on the field, and not just bomb it. Let's say good drivers of the golf ball, Joe, or upper echelon drivers of the golf ball. But like I said, 73 or 7,600 yards nearly. Greens are actually a touch on the slow side compared to normal PGA event. They're going to run about 10 to 10 and a half. Your normal event's going to be 11 and a half, Joe. And then the majors, it's going to be around 12 and a half to 13. different types of Bermuda grass throughout the whole thing. These are huge greens. It's a huge golf course. Architect, Ben Crenshaw, Bill Core, back in 91. Just there's really nothing that you can really spoon to relate it to another golf course in that you're going to see on tour with those architects. They did renovate in 2019 though. Just some little things with some trees and due to some dry weather that past year. Kapalua, Joe, I've touched on a few things. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, man, you hit on a lot. Some really good info there, Andrew. Extremely big ballpark. You mentioned that bombing it is an advantage. I would certainly agree with that. I don't think you have to bomb it, but it is a leg up. These fairways are extremely wide, man. Tons of room to operate off the tee. Greens are very big, and as you mentioned, they kind of run slow. These Bermuda grass greens, they run a little bit slow, and they're very big. I don't think wind's going to be a factor this year, so I don't want to touch on the wind too much. In the past, we've seen it kind of play a factor in different years, but by all accounts, it's supposed to be pretty mild this week. So yeah, I'm giving a little bump to the guys that are long off the tee. Obviously, good ball strikers, good iron players. That's always extremely important. You might want to look at 3-putt avoidance because these greens are so big. Kind of weird to say, man. There's a little bit of Augusta National crossover here, it feels like, Andrew. When you start looking through some former winners at Kapalua, you're talking Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth. You mentioned going even back to Zach Johnson. Patrick Reed's a guy that's won at both places. We've seen several guys perform well at both places. So there maybe is a little bit of crossover with Augusta, which is also a really long golf course with a lot of room off the tee. So that might be something you want to look at in your research, man. Bottom line, this is a limited field event. There are only 39 guys teeing it up this week. Every single one of them won a PGA Tour event last year. So this is an elite field. You can't really go wrong. It's something we're going to talk about as we get into the slate, maybe making some decisions based on ownership. But really excited for this one, man. It's always a fun event. Played at night. There's snow here in East Tennessee today, Andrew. So when this tournament starts, you can kind of watch it at night and see the beautiful Maui weather out there, and it's always kind of a little escape from the cold here on the East Coast down south.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. 81 degrees Saturday, 29 degrees Monday with 2 inches of snow. That's East Tennessee weather for you. If you have sinus issues, you don't want to visit the area. It'll put you down under. So, like you said, 39 player field, no cut. Every player won an event last year. Of the 39, 8 out of the top 10 in the official world golf rankings are going to be present. If you look towards the tournament history here, Joe, you're going to notice I think I counted 12 players haven't played here in the last 5 years or at all. And if you look, you're going to see, say, like tied 21st, or say you see a guy. Let's get an example here. Okay, Kevin Kisner's tied 24th, tied 14th, tied 17th, 3 of the last 5 years. That sounds like a good number, but let's be honest. There's an average of 40 guys in this field every year, 35 to 40, 42 guys in this field. Tied 14th is really not elite status. So you're going to have to get, probably nearly all of your players in the top 10 to do well in fantasy. Because that alone, I would recommend going just a light week, trying to just get into the new flow of golf. But there is going to be some players that we are going to put above the rest on the slate. Let's jump into the slate, Joe. Price points. Let's start at the top, 10K and up. Hovland, DeChambeau, JT, Morikawa, John Rahm. I like the top here, Joe, all the way across. I know your man Morikawa. You love him. I'll be honest though, Joe. JT loves this place. I'm JT here, even though his 3-putt avoidance is not very high. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Hard to find a player up here you don't love this week, Andrew. You mentioned John Rahm has been played exceptionally well on this golf course. Made a start here every year, qualified for this event every year since 2018. Has never finished outside the top 10, and almost feels like he's due for a win at some point on this layout. He's played it extremely well. Gained 23.75 strokes total here in his 4 starts at Kapalua. So you have to love and respect John Rahm in this spot. You mentioned Colin Morikawa. Doesn't jump out as maybe a great layout for him, being a kind of a big boy ballpark. Not really the strength of his game. Certainly distance isn't one of his bigger assets, but the ball striking, man, really pays dividends here. He's went T7 in 2 Sentry Tournament of Champions starts, and the guy's been absolutely on fire. Won the race to Dubai over there back in November. Had a stranglehold on the Hero. Had a bad round there, kind of let that one slip away, but the dude has been a top 10 and really fighting to win throughout the fall season. So you have to love Colin. Really big on his prospects heading into the year, man, and like him this week as well. JT, you mentioned a 2-time winner here. Has won here twice since 2017. Also has 2 top 3s in that same time span. So I think you can certainly look at JT. He was my horse for the course this week in my Rotoballer article. So love JT. He had a really bad putting year last year. A lot of folks are going to point to that as kind of a benchmark of why he could have a turnaround season this year. Also has Bones McKay on the back, Phil Mickelson's former caddy. He'll be toting the bag for JT this year, so that's an interesting kind of line to take when you're looking at JT's prospects this year. But won the Players last year, man, but pretty fair to call it a disappointing year, Andrew. Would you agree JT's year last year was disappointing? I mean, I think guys of that caliber, you're almost measuring their success by major championships.
Yeah, Joe, if you remember, JT was coming off the death of a family member. Maybe it was his grandfather, I believe, who brought golf into the family and had a real high emotional victory there at Sawgrass at the Players Championship. And then we were really expecting possibly maybe a jump start into a huge year for him, and it just didn't turn out. But that's okay because John Rahm had a career year. DJ played pretty good, and several others, were right there. Had a great year. So, JT just wasn't sharp. His putting was way off. His chipping was horrendous. And for him, his iron play was just not up to standards that he normally is. He's normally a top iron player and he just wasn't. So, but I still like him here. Like you said, 2 wins and 2 top 3s in the last 4 years. But you know what, Joe? Right below him is probably my favorite place for this week. Sam Burns, Patrick Cantley, Xander Schauffele, not in that order. But Joe, that is my sweet spot for this event. It's possible with their pricing, you could have them all 3 in all your lineups. That's my sweet spot. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is we never know if Patrick Cantley is going to start off hot or kind of warm up to the year. That's the only concern I have. That's my sweet spot for this tournament. Patrick Cantley, Xander Schauffele, Sam Burns.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive range, Andrew, and you can roster all 3 of those guys and still have about $7,200 left for your other 3 golfers. So you can certainly kind of mix and match those guys as you want to. I do really like that range. You mentioned Patrick Cantley. The concern with him is, where's his game? We know he won the FedEx Cup, $15 million, went on an unbelievable run down the stretch. Kind of been out of the golf loop for the month of December. I've been getting back into it. And the things I'm hearing on a lot of these podcasts and like season preview shows is that there's no way Patrick Cantley can sustain what he's doing. That he's doing everything on the strength of the putter. And that's a fair argument. I don't completely disagree with that, but I also want to, kind of say this guy's an elite player, man. He's a really, really good young player that we felt was coming on for the last couple of years. Everything clicked for him down the stretch in the FedEx Cup playoffs. So, I mean, I certainly think he can continue playing at a high level. Whether he can keep the putter going to the extent that it was back in the fall, I don't know. But it's not. I don't think it's as though he's going to fall off the face of the earth if he's not making every single thing he looks at. This is a very quality player. Can certainly play well this week. We might catch his ownership a little bit low because it feels like people are hopping off because of the putting situation. They don't think that's sustainable. So I'll keep an eye on Cantley's ownership. Won't hesitate a bit to hop on there if he's going under owned. Xander Schauffele, he's in this tournament because he won the medal at the Tokyo Olympics. But he's played extremely well here, man. He might not wait too long in 2022 to get a win. Won this tournament back in 2019, had a T2 in 2020, and really had that tournament in hand. A sloppy three-putt on the very last hole, the 72nd hole, forced a playoff, and he fell in that one and had a T5 here last year. So Xander can play well here, has played well here. He's extremely long off the tee, man. He's a really small guy. I think that kind of makes us forget just how long he is. Averaged just over 307 yards off the tee last year. So really like Xander. And Sam Burns, man, you mentioned on fire coming down the stretch. Played extremely well in the fall, played extremely well as a whole on the whole last year. My only concern with Burns is he's a first-timer here. First-timer here, hadn't won at Kapalua since, I believe, 2008. So that is a little bit concerning. I think this is a golf course where experience does matter. But you can't argue with the form of Sam Burns, man. Any of these guys here in the nines, Andrew, great players.
Yeah, Joe. I mean, like I said, can't go wrong with any of the three. I like all three. That's the sweet spot for me. Nothing else we can say about them that we hadn't already said. Below that, 89-8, Tony Finau, Abe Answer, Sanjay, Cam Smith, Berger, Koepka, Matsuyama, Spieth. Very interesting group here. Obviously, everybody in this range could win the tournament. However, there's a big downside, I think, to all these players. Jordan, we just don't know. He had a really great year last year and was very exciting to watch. But I think this is one of them places he's gonna have to literally make everything to and do all the right things to put together a strong run in this tournament against this field on this golf course. Matsuyama, he's a big ballpark player. I don't hate him. Koepka, who knows if he's going to show up. D. Berger does not play great in these huge fields, and let's be honest, he's known to burn us in the past on the one and done. Cam Smith has success here. Sanjay's has some success here. Abe, we really don't know if this is going to be his first time here. And Tony, I mean, he's played here a couple times, top 10 a few years back, and 31st last year. So it's just a huge upside here, huge risk though.
Yeah. This kind of screams out GPP plays to me. Spieth is very interesting to me. He's played well here, a former winner here. Had a really good run here back kind of 15, 16, 17 in there. Played really well in this golf tournament. Tons of room for him off the tee, which I like. We know he can get hot and make birdies in bunches. The wind's not going to be a huge factor we touched on, but, he's a great wind player. So I think Spieth can really play well here. Played bad at the Hero. Finished dead last in that event. So, I don't know if people be weighing that when they consider Spieth, but again, I'll keep an eye on ownership. Won't hesitate to go overweight on Jordan Spieth in this spot, despite the kind of the bad outing at the Hero. Hideki's got a tremendous record here. Had the worst, one of the worst putting weeks of his career in this event last year. So we struggled there. But if we look before that, it's played really well on the Plantation course. Some concerns with Brooks. I know he's kind of saying he's going to focus on these regular events a little more this year, but I've got to see it to believe it, Andrew. You mentioned Berger, just a really solid player, doesn't get a lot of publicity, might be a sneaky GPP play. Cam Smith, I love where his game is. Mentioned some comps to Augusta. We've seen him play well there, and he played well throughout the fall. was a top 10 machine. Abe Answer, he actually got to play here last year. AP, he got in on the Tour Championship exemption that they did last year. Had a T17, so kind of a middle of the road outing. And then you mentioned Finau, kind of been quiet for a while. Got that big win, kind of that big win back in the FedEx Cup playoffs, which we were really excited to see. So maybe that leads us some bigger things this year. We know we can bomb it, so it's certainly driver friendly here. So any of these guys could be worth taking a stab on in GPPs.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I want to say about Tony is I could really see this like this being that type of golf course where he's playing great and great things are happening, goes to the back nine on Sunday and just like forgets how to putt. We've seen that plenty of times, and I hate to see that here again with whenever you need him. 7K range, a couple past winners here. Billy Horschel, Kevin Na, Leishman, Taylor Gooch, Kokrak, English, Reed. These are going to be a lot of guys that we're going to be shouting out throughout the year as huge upside in certain events. English won here last year and had a great fall last year, and we were, is really elevated himself to what we thought he should be, and just really just fell off after that. Somebody I do like here, and I don't know where he's going to be with his price point, is Patrick Reed. He can literally win anywhere. We've seen that. Whenever we don't think he's going to win is when he does, and when we think he's going to play great, he don't. So I would green light him here. And really, what do you think about Leishman, man? This he's not a really, really long hitter. He's not a great iron player, but this seems like an event that he would do well at. Gets that putter going. I could see him having a good week. So that's my talk on the 7K range, Joe. Fire away.
Yeah, man. You mentioned a couple guys I also really like. Patrick Reed, being the first that comes to mind. A former winner here. He's also got 2 runner-ups here. You said it, AP. Not going to pop in the stats. We kind of never know where to put him. But obviously he's played well on this golf course, and he can pop up and win golf tournaments. So at a sub 8K price tag, I'll definitely have plenty of exposure to Patrick Reed. Really like his upside. Mark Leishman is a guy that I feel like might be in for a pretty good bounce back year. And that could start this week, man. He's got a T4 and a T7 on his resume on this golf course. So I think you can look for Leishman to kind of bounce back. COVID really hurt him. He was one of the players that just was kind of devastated by COVID. I don't think he picked a club up during that whole layoff, and it really took him a while to kind of work himself back into form. But we saw some flashes at the Masters and then back in the fall during that swing. So I think Leishman's headed in the right direction. A couple of guys that have also been playing well, sandwiched in there, Jason Kokrak, Taylor Gooch. Gooch got a big breakthrough win in the fall. Kokrak also had a win in the fall. You kind of feel like maybe the lid is off for him. This is a big ballpark, and we know how well he plays off the tee. So I think you can look at any of this upper 7K range. Working down, nobody really blows me away. The field kind of noticeably gets weaker here as we get below 7,500. Kevin Na is a shorter hitter. We've seen those guys pop up from time to time in this tournament, but I'm just not going to put my money on a Kevin Na on a 7,600-yard golf course. Same can be said for Billy Horschel. Played well during the fall, had a big win over in Europe, but hasn't played well traditionally on this layout. So not super pumped about rostering Billy Ho. Cam Champ's a guy that normally we'd look at. There's some really big injury concerns there, so I don't know that we can go to Champ with all the question marks there. Then we got a lot of first timers: a Max Homa, Seamus Power. I think this is Homa's second start. Actually, had a T25 back in 2020. Garrett Higo is a young player. Brandon Grace returning after a long absence from this tournament. Cameron Davis, a first-time winner last year. These are guys that are talented, that can play well, that can certainly go out and make birdies. But we just don't have a lot of course history to go off of. So it's going to be more dart throw territory down here as we work our way into the sixes, even though these guys are really good players.
I agree, and I think that really, if you want to win a huge GPP, you're going to find that 6K range guy that's going to finish in the top 5. So that's going to be the key this week. Of the 12 or so, 12 or 14 players, I believe, and maybe 15 players that are in that 6K range. We got to pick that one out, and there's not really a lot of great course history down in that 6K range that we can lean
Yeah,
on.
yeah. A lot of the guys that they've got priced down here, it seems to be, first time winners or vets. Talk about a Phil Mickelson, a Stuart Sink, veterans that hadn't played here in a long time, or first timers that are playing here for the first time. So just not a ton to draw on down there.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, the gnaw of the horse. So you're not looking to throw them on a course like this. I'll tell you what, keep them in mind, keep them in your pocket next week, is where we're gonna. You'll be hitting them up next week. Totally different
Yeah.
style of golf course next week, Joe. One name I think down here I like to see going forward, and I'll be following along with him pretty regular this year. Cam Davis had a pretty good year last year. He's from Australia. He's a win player. He's very consistent there late in the year and into the fall. I will be following along with him pretty regular. Talking about big hitters down here, you got to think Power is a big hitter. Really, other than that, Joe, I mean, you want to say that Kisner plays pretty well on Bermuda greens, but maybe not on this golf course. He's had decent finishes. I really don't think we're going to put all of our eggs in that basket. Stuart Sink hits the ball far enough to play well, but where's his game at? We don't know. Lucas Glover, I mean, you're never going to play him again. So, so I don't really know here down in this range, Joe. We got to pick that needle out of a haystack though down here if we want to take down a big GPP. So, Joe, in saying that, to close out our show with our normal segment, where's your dart play at?
Man, I really want to get below the 7K range to kind of throw a dart, but it's tough. It's something I'm going to have to narrow down as we get on into the week, I think, down here, AP. So I'm gonna throw out Mark Leishman at 7,500. I feel like a bounce back year's coming. We've seen some good performances on this course before, and I feel like 2022 is going to be a lot kinder to Mark Leishman. So that's my dart this week.
Yeah, and I'm actually in that same realm, and you could be definitely looking him as a top 5, top 10 play. I like that play a lot, and I'm gonna be right there with you. Mark Leishman, dart play of the week for me. I can't hang my hat on anybody down here with the 6,000 attached to their name. Really, can't hang my hat on anybody below Mark Leishman. Honestly, that I look to play really, really well just by their play so far. I'm gonna go with the hard play if you're making me pull my last $5 out, and who I really think is really going to win this week. And it's I hate to say it, man, it's JT. JT's going to win this tournament, Joe. He's been there plenty of times. He's comfortable at this golf course. I've already seen him tweeting out love it every time I show up with this place. And that goes a long way with these players. If they're even, let's just say they are playing bad, Joe. You show up to a place that you like, you feel comfortable at. You just immediately, it's a change in the way you carry yourself. You pop that chest back out and you're walking around with a different strut. JT is going to win this tournament, Joe. Who do you got?
I like JT a lot, man. I think that's a really good call. I'm gonna go just above JT. This golf course doesn't seem like a great fit for him, but he's got a couple of T7s. The dude has just been on fire, basically for his whole career, but especially kind of since winning the Open Championship last year. Played extremely well in the Ryder Cup. Like I said, won the race to Dubai over in Europe. Colin Morikawa, man, looking for him to have a huge year. Did a fancy draft a couple nights ago, AP, and drew the number 1 pick. I took Colin Morikawa number 1 overall. That's how confident I am in his prospects and in his consistency and his ball striking. I think he's going to do really well here, man. These greens suit him. Slower Bermuda, maybe kind of mute the advantage for some of these guys. So going with Morikawa, man. I think he wins it this week.
I like that, and I would like to comment on your number 1 selection. For me, it would have been Morikawa and Rahm.
Yeah,
because
Yeah,
last year, if you don't remember, man, like Ron played bad and finished top 10 every week. Seemed what it felt like. So,
right.
but I like the Morikawa play because he's gonna win a couple events. He's gonna be in a couple of majors. I like your observation there. So you got Colin
Yeah.
Morikawa.
It just basically feels like with Morikawa, the ball striking is always there consistently, and if he has a decent to good putting week, he wins. It's kind of that simple, really. When you look at Morikawa's history and his stats, so a couple good putting weeks a year, he's going to win some tournaments, as you mentioned, and the ball striking is going to put him in play in all four majors, consistently. So just really love his game, man.
I do not disagree with you, Joe. There, really an average putting week for him. He's going to win on these especially these really hard courses that we get into later or at times in the year. So,
AP, one thing before we go, man, the T-shirt giveaway. We got a kickoff edition T-shirt, the Turn logo that's hot pink. Since we kind of let this episode get away from us, we'll give that away next week for the Hawaii Sony Open. So
yeah, you can still subscribe to the YouTube page by Wednesday.
Yeah, subscribe. Be subscribed next week, and we will draw that out when we do the Sony Open show.
There we go. Colin Morikawa for Joe, JT for Andrew. Both of us like Leishman as the dart play of the week. Don't forget if you're going to get on there, rotoballer.com, best place in the world for your daily fantasy needs. Use the promo code NICE, NICE, when signing up for the PGA Premium. Joe and Spencer and Josh over there, they put a lot of work into that to get that content out, and it's great content every week. It'll help you long term. Guys, I'm Andrew Putters. That's Joe Nicely, and you have listened to the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast.
It's gonna drive